Hey there guys, so we're taking a look at Call of Duty 4 running on the 1135G7. Now this is the modded version of Call of Duty 4, so this is called 4X, which is the best way to play the multiplayer of this game, and it is fantastic. The performance is pretty decent. Now those 1% lows are kind of brutal for a fast-paced first-person shooter like this, but it is playable. Well, the settings are pretty much just set to about what the medium settings are. Some things are set to the highest, but for the most part, I kind of just left things to their default at 1080p, and the performance is good enough for being able to play the game. Now, the benefit of COD4X is that obviously the multiplayer on this game is at this point ancient, so there's not that many players. So one good way to alleviate that is to actually have bots, and there are a lot of servers that are filled with bots, and it actually lets you continue to play the multiplayer on here. You might be thinking, well, what's the fun in that? And well, I love the Call of Duty 4 multiplayer. This is what I grew up on, so the fact that I can actually go back and play it at all is fantastic, because how many modern games are coming out nowadays that have literally no bots? So once those servers go down, the official game servers, it's gone. There's so many multiplayer games that are newer than this that are not playable in the slightest because the servers have gone down. And I'm happy to see that even though we're not getting the absolute best performance possible, it's still very playable and you're going to have a good time playing. I mean, I had a blast going through this. It's very nostalgic. In fact, it's also nostalgic to just talk over gameplay of Call of Duty 4, because that's like that old school like YouTube energy. Like Call of Duty commentaries were like what I grew up watching, and I even had like that's how I got started on YouTube like years ago, about a decade ago. I started on YouTube on like my first ever channel, just doing Call of Duty commentary videos on this game itself, and in a lot of ways it's funny to think, a decade later I'm doing the same thing here, just in a completely different context, and I'm very nostalgic of the game. Like I think it's one of the best Call of Duty games ever made, especially because it was one of the last ones that actually had a proper server browser and servers that you can host yourself, and that's very important to the survival of these old school multiplayer games. I'm always very sad to see that modern first-person shooters and modern multiplayer games in general just do not let you host your own servers. It's just it's a travesty to see how many games out there will just never be played again just because there are no servers for them. The master servers went down. There is just no way of hosting your own. At this point there are just hundreds and hundreds of games that have just disappeared like this, and I'm glad that this gem has stayed through and through. Now, if you want to have a single player experience, you can't just jump into the single player and actually have a better experience than this, just because when you're playing the multiplayer here, there's going to be a lot of enemies. I mean, this map is chock full of just bots and enemies all over the place. It's great fun, but definitely it is not 100% representative of what the normal game would be like. This is pretty much taking it to the absolute extreme, but also I think it's one of the best ways to actually play the game. COD4X has just had at this point over a decade of development gone into it, and it really shows in the fact that it is still just so well maintained. You'll find so many servers. It's one of those things where if you and your friends are looking for a multiplayer game to just jump into and have a great time with, this is one of those things. You and your friends can just load into a server, do some free-for-all, just murder each other. You can join a free-for-all server with bots if that's what you want to do. If you want to do team deathmatch with bots, you can do that. You just get so much control over it. For sure, those 1% lows aren't the greatest. Like they're not going to provide you the smoothest experience for sure. When you can get a consistent 1% lows above 60, that's where the smoothness really comes in. But for what you're getting here on such a low-end system and the amount of content that this has, it's a no-brainer. So if you are a fan of this, be sure to check out COD4X. I mean, seriously, it's one of those things where I tell everyone that grew up playing Call of Duty 4 to just try COD4X, because you're gonna have a nostalgia trip. It's gonna be great. But anyways, if you found this video useful, be sure to subscribe, guys, and let me know what you think. If you have any other game suggestions that I should try out, please let me know down in the comments. I always want to know what you guys actually want to see. It's hard to tell sometimes what games are going to be the most interesting to people. I'm really glad to see that looking at these older games has been doing really well on the channel, because the thing is, what makes something a gaming laptop? What makes this not a gaming laptop if you can play hundreds and hundreds of games on it? But anyways, I will see you guys next time.